Hello everyone, welcome back to the TJOmega channel for day 950 of our daily content grind, and that's kind of a small milestone, which makes this an appropriate video. We have a new Transformers movie trailer to discuss, and this one is significant because it's Transformers 1. It's the first time since 1986 that a theatrical animated Transformers movie has been made. Kind of a long gap for a franchise known for its cartoons, but you know what? I will accept whatever is handed to me at this point. So, as you see on the screen, I have not actually seen this trailer. If you come here looking for an actual reaction video, I'm sorry. I really don't want my channel to get a copyright strike, so that is not what you will be seeing here. What I am going to do is hit play on this trailer, which I legitimately have not seen anything of yet. I will give you my immediate response and my immediate thoughts afterwards, and then we'll go into a deep analysis of what's going on, what I think of the designs, little Easter eggs, etc. So with no further ado, I'm going to click this, and then you're going to jump cut to the very end of it. Okay, that's definitely not what I was expecting. That is definitely not what I was expecting. Oh, I think what blows me away from the start of this is that Bonaventura and everyone in charge of Transformer movies at Paramount are capable of having a completely different tone than what we're used to. Like, I really did expect this to just be like a weird, like almost prequel. Could have been a prequel to Bumblebee, could have been a prequel to 07, you know, like that weird thing that they like to not be, like, committal to, like, where they are in the franchise and what is canon and what isn't. No, it's very it's very much a kid's movie. It's very kid movie in style. Which my first gut reaction here is, I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think that's a bad thing. No, okay, so initial reaction is, okay, that's weird. I'm going to give it another watch. I'm going to look at the still shots, and then, yeah, we'll be back, and I will tell you, like, full thoughts and everything once I've let this process a little bit. All right, it's time. Let us actually discuss exactly what is in that trailer and exactly what I think of it. Okay, so for starters, let's get this out of the way. They did this really dumb premiere in space promotional stunt. They just kind of flew a drone into the atmosphere to play the trailer for the first time, and then I don't get it. I genuinely don't get it. Okay, so cool, the trailer was seen from, you know, in space. It's weird. It's weird. It seems like such a waste. It seems like such a waste. But let's get to the actual meat of it. So for number one, let's talk character designs. And to be honest, like, I think a lot are going to take issue with just how smooth the faces are, the mouths, etc. To be honest, this is kind of how they should have been animated from the start. Like, if we're being accurate to how they looked in G1, that's kind of right. Maybe a few lines around the faces, but you can kind of see that. You can kind of see that on Optimus too. It's kind of correct. It's in a weird way, it's kind of correct. I think what gets me is lips and teeth. Like, that part is weird. I think Transformers Prime nailed it a little bit more with just the malleable metal. But keeping in mind, this is absolutely a kid's movie. This feels right out of like the Robin Williams movie Robots. Like, this gives me some weird vibes of that. So it's definitely for kids, so it has to be recognizable. It's a weird thing, but okay. I'm willing to give it a shot. The overall designs, though, I'm not too upset over. They are much more round, smooth, and they're solid, is what gets me the most. They are solid designs. I recognize the characters at a glance. It's not piles of shrapnel in the shape of a robot. I will take it. The characters are bright and recognizable. I will take it. And I don't mind the round aesthetic. Voice cast. So I think Chris Hemsworth's doing a decent job as Orion Pax. He does kind of have a he kind of has this like tone to his voice where you can hear what will become Optimus Prime, but it definitely has a little bit. It doesn't have the gruffness of like the Peter Cullen voice, so it is an appropriate place, you know. And for a while, the trailer does do a good job. Like I kind of forget that it's Chris Hemsworth, right? The rest of the voice cast so far, from what I've heard, it's not bad. There's a few in there that I'm gonna have to get used to. It's just they are a very different sound from the traditional characters. They're not doing a bad voice acting job. The voice acting in this seems to be relatively fine. It's just weird to hear those voices coming out of, you know, Megatron and Elita 1, you know, because I recognize Scarlett Johansson's voice. I will say, yeah, I will say, like, I like Lawrence Fishburne as Alpha Trion. Like, that actually makes sense to me. You know, I guess that's a little bit of Matrix still in my brain. Matrix, Transform. You get it. You get it. For the primary cast, I'm actually really happy. They could have very easily slotted in RC as like the token female in the cast, but this does allow them to actually have a potential Optimus and Elita romance going on as a subplot, which is typical in movies like this. It's pretty typical, so it wouldn't surprise me. It's not a bad like core cast, and I like that they're keeping it small. There's a lot of other familiar Transformer characters across this movie, but the fact that the main cast seems to be just the four of them means they're going to get a lot more character moments, and we're going to have a more solid depiction of them than if they were trying to break up the cast across, what the first movie was 5 Autobots and 7 Decepticons. This seems like it's going to be way more balanced to making a strong character presence. So that's kind of what I'm looking forward to here. We have internal shots of Cybertron. Cybertron is kind of dark, kind of smoggy. You know, it's underground is the thing. The Cybertron we're seeing is entirely underground, which is an interesting switch up. So everything is dark. There's not a whole lot of depth of visibility. And it does kind of solve the problem that an animator would have with doing a full 3D rendered Cybertron is, I mean, there's a huge amount of distance to render that it makes it very difficult to do an entire planet's worth. This lets them keep it a little bit more compact. It's actually kind of smart. Also, before anyone asks, yes, shots like this and the tone of the trailer with the music and the jokes in it, I do get Guardians of the Galaxy vibes. This kind of looking like nowhere a little bit kind of gives me the same thing. Also, I tried looking to see if these glyphs mean anything. It's not traditional Cybertronics, so I can't really identify it. If it's saying something, I don't know what it is. Then you get the surface where things are very different. You see the sky, you see like the aurora in the distance. The thing that you can't really convey in a still shot like this is the mountains are actually growing. Like they are jutting forward, like there is living metal on the surface of Cybertron that is actively expanding, which is an interesting thing. There's a taboo in the movie about going to the surface, so this could play into part of that. Something else does later on. We'll get into that screenshot here in a bit. The one thing about it is the tone of the trailer, and I think that's what's going to put people off the most. They did cram a lot of jokes into it, keeping in mind that's kind of what a lot of trailers like this do, is they'll make it a very ha-ha, and then toward the end it starts getting more serious, and then we throw in like one more gag, just to remind you there's comedy in this movie, and then like one little end gag after the title. The trailer is very cookie cutter in that it's like very much a Marvel style trailer. Which is, again, where I try to draw Guardian comparisons. Even the lighting and tone kind of draws that. Humor-wise, there are some weird moments. The introduction shot for Bumblebee, I did kind of cringe. This is like the cringe joke, and they got it out of the way early. That's just how things go these days. There are other gags, like when they're trying to transform for the first time, can't figure it out, and they're like in a rush to figure it out. Okay, that's kind of a gag. That's kind of a gag I like. There are some genuine, like, nothing that made me bust out laughing, but I genuinely just like kind of like, I did find funny. So it's not all bad. It's not all bad. But I really feel like the tone is so different than anything we've seen from previous Transformer movies that it's going to turn off a lot of the movie fans. Which, you know what? Not necessarily a bad thing. I'll do the little roundup at the end. But first off, let's actually get to what else we got to see in the trailer. Who else did we get to see in the trailer? Well, for starters, there was this shot that everyone's going to go nuts over. It's 3 big Decepticons already together. Starscream's already got a throne. Jeez, he didn't waste any time in this movie. It's Shockwave, it's Soundwave, it's Starscream. They are very recognizable as their traditional characters. They are looking really, really good. I'm really liking what they're doing here. Yeah, it's just exciting. It's exciting to see like the characters I expect to see, and the way the way that they have their iconic imagery. That's important. So great to see. Great to see. We also got to see how Alpha Trion's going to look in this movie. He is very old, weathered. He does have some of his familiar traits, but he's definitely not designed like the other Transformers in the movie, which I think is by intention. His design is moss covered because he's been living in secret on the surface, apparently in secret. And while he does have his familiar purple colors, he does definitely have a different vibe to him, and I'm curious why exactly he looks different than how a standard Transformer is. We got this quick shot. There is a big battle scene teased at the end, potentially bigger than any of the others we've seen, but I can still tell characters apart, so that's already improvement. Skywarp here, about to take a tackle from whatever that thing flying at him is. Couldn't get a good screenshot of that wasn't blurry, so I have no idea if it's someone I would recognize. But as long as we're talking about Skywarp there, look at this shot. So this is kind of doing what the Netflix series did, which is to fill group shots full of reused models. So everyone here is mostly Seekers, but a lot of recognizable ones. So the one on the far left, I can't recognize. It's purple and bright green. It's very Ava Unit 1 in colors. I wouldn't mind a Seeker. It's kind of like that. It's kind of sick looking. But the one in front of him is absolutely Cliff Jumper. Or not, what did I say Cliff Jumper? Thundercracker. Thundercracker. Why did I go there? Jeez. But yeah, and then over on the far right, you can see the brown wings. You can see a point where his head would be. That is absolutely Dirge. So they are filling the crowd with familiar characters, which is great to see. They're about to get blown up here, but it's great to see. I'm actually wondering how many more characters they will sneak in. Speaking of sneaking in characters, here's one that literally jumped out of nowhere. Viacon. A classic Prime-style Viacon. And there's ones that look like Air Viacon drones as well. So Autobots are going to be fighting big hordes of drones, in the big hero scene at the end, of course, because you need that. But at least this time, it's not a horde of Scorponocks and just random animalistic bug transformers. It's not a bunch of snarling gremlin transformers with no names or identities. It's something we know. It's something we're familiar with. It's one thing that I really like about what I'm seeing in this movie so far. They're pulling from places. They aren't just sticking to G1. Here we have something from Transformers Prime. And if you want further, there's Arachnid. Same white face, same black design, same high shoulders. Same spider legs. That's Arachnid. That is absolutely Arachnid. Super cool to see. I love seeing these pulls that aren't just from Generation 1. And I love that they're pulling from places. You can tell by just what they've set up and the things they've shown off. The people who are making this actually paid attention to the franchise, which I think is hugely important and something that's been sorely lacking in the movies so far. There's some original ones too. There's this guy that showed up. I actually really like the look of him. He's got a little bit of Tankor vibe to him with a different head though. He's a little bit G2 Dreadwing, just a little bit. There's a few generics. There's a few nameless robots in here that still look pretty good. Like the main cast obviously has a little bit more rendering and detail to them, but they don't look out of place. They, like civilian stock like this, Still looks fine. You know, it looks like part of it. Now, we did get brief looks at the big two. So we did get a look at Optimus Prime. And we know it's Optimus Prime because you can see inside his chest that is absolutely the Matrix. So getting to see that, like confirming that, yeah, we're going to see Prime by the end of the movie is kind of cool. The Matrix of Leadership is a thing in the movie. That's cool. And we also got a look at Megatron in his, in his full, tyrant form. Now, there's a weird thing to the Megatron in this movie. So throughout most of the movie, we're going to know him as D16, which is, again, a deep pull. That's his serial number from his original Takara release. Cool, I like that. But following this shot, we see this shot of a Decepticon brand falling to the ground. And it's definitely Megatron actually wielding it, because the feet you see behind him, I double-checked this. I had to stare at feet way too often for these videos. It's him after his initial upgrade. So, who is he branding here? This has to be close to the end of the movie, because there's an implication they might have branded himself, except if we look at D16, he's already got a Decepticon symbol on his left shoulder. And that is present for the entire movie. We see that even in the early shots that are like absolutely before they reach the surface and discover this, and all this. It's curious. So why does he already have the Decepticon emblem on him? And why does he find it on the surface of the planet? I'm really curious about this. If there's something preordained to this, if he is from if he's descended from a race that was on the surface, or, battled the enemies of the movie that I haven't discussed yet, because it's kind of a big deal. I'm genuinely curious what this is all going to wrap around. What does this mean? This means something, and Megatron's going to have an interesting story as a result. Transformation cogs are a big deal. They mentioned early that they are worker bots who can't transform. We're just worker bots who can't transform, who can't even transform. So there might be kind of a caste system where, like, the upper class are the transformers who can transform. Which would kind of mirror the IDW verse a little bit, where it was very functionist, where your role in existence is based on what your alt mode is. Whereas here, you need the advanced robots get to have alt modes. The little worker classes don't. I'm really curious what that's all about. Okay, and then we have this. There are villains in this movie. Take a look at this organic, scrungly looking guy. Look at this. He is nothing like we've seen before. He's just creepy and gooey and techno-organic in a very disturbing way. See, what shot do I have next? Oh yeah, that's absolutely, oh yeah, I'm betting anything that's Sentinel Prime he's menacing at the moment. Also, I'm calling Quintesson because, tentacles. He's very tentacly. And so is, all the minions around him. So, if Quintessons really are the main villains of this movie, I'm going to lose my mind, because it's long overdue for the Quints to actually be part of, on a big screen. It's been a long time. Been a long time since we've seen them there. Yeah, but that alone makes me excited. Now I'm trying to my brain wants to piece together the plot from the trailer and from the preview that people reported seeing. I could. Probably going to be a different video down the line. But for now, we're just kind of giving my opinion. And this alone has me kind of excited. And the fact that he's meeting with Sentinel Prime has implications. Is strong implications. A few other oddities that we're not used to that are kind of stand out in this movie. There's okay, I got ahead of myself because I'm looking at my previews. We'll get to that. They actually show that Prime and Megatron, or Orion and D16, they are friends. They do hang out and pal around. They get in trouble. Orion Pax seems like he just gets into trouble. And part of it is the Iacon 5000. We actually get to take part in a Cybertronian race, which is kind of cool sounding. Yeah, I do like that. And we get a little bit of like what culture in Cybertron is like. So which is not something we ever get, by the way. We never get to see the civilian side of Cybertron. A little bit in IDW. But for the most part, it sticks to everyone fighting the war. Which, if you know, can't possibly be the entire planet. So I'm kind of interested in this. And then we have other weirdness on the surface. If my slides are correct, hang on, let me make sure my slides are all off now. Animal life. There's animal life on the surface of Cybertron. How and why? Like, this is such a different take on Cybertron. There's organic grass, too. I mean, it's not like trees, or it's not like anything like Beast Machine's level. It's more like fungal growth and like moss. So, you know, plant life that doesn't really need soil to grow. It just needs moisture. So, you know, the atmosphere is probably moist as well. But yeah, like robotic animals on Cybertron. Weird. Really weird. I'm also going to show you the cave that Alpha Trion was in. And again, incredibly organic looking. Like even that, like it's got this kind of maw to it. So like he's probably in, like if he's like actually like living inside like a dead creature or something, that's again huge implications for what this Cybertron is. And then there's one more shot I'm going to show you. And this is just kind of like a surprise shot. You know, there's no way to get this without a blur because it happens so fast. Just something menacing lunging at the screen. I'm going to let you, since you made it through this whole video, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. It's Alpha Trion's beast mode. Because it matches the toy that just got revealed. And it's got the same moss across it. I'm willing to bet this is Alpha Trion going on the attack. Which would be amazing because Alpha Trion never goes on the attack. So that's kind of my like feedback on everything. That's kind of like everything I noticed in the trailer. I am sated by how much they are pulling from various Transformers lore, and just it shows that they are paying attention to the franchise a little bit more than I expect out of the movie makers. That part is fantastic. The tone of the trailer, I'm not putting too much stock in because the trailers can always be awful. Especially like this, they're trying to cram all the jokes in the movie into just the trailer to get people's attention. What gets me is the tone is so different. It's so different than the super gritty, dark, super serious, like live action movies. And guess what? This is what we need. This is exactly what we need. There's going to be people who don't like it, and that's completely up to you. You're completely fine in not liking the look of this trailer, the tone, the designs. We have to keep in mind, Transformers is a kids franchise. And if you don't interest kids, then there's nobody left to keep the franchise alive, as everyone else just kind of like grows up or fades out, you know? You kind of need movies that will interest kids because it's a toy franchise. And that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to have an alternative. And what do we think about like the live action movies? Like, even if you are like the most die-hard Bayverse fan, you have to admit the Transformer live-action movies are all kind of the same. With the exception of Bumblebee, they pretty much run the exact same formula. They pretty much do. Like, it's to an embarrassing degree sometimes. I need to do a whole video just like on like why every Transformers movie is exactly alike. They follow the exact same formula. They follow the exact same plot progression. You know, the exact same events happen. The exact same tropes happen. This is all different. This is a completely new vibe, a completely new different direction. And it's exactly what these movies need. It's exactly. It might come across a little bit DreamWorks in its style, a little bit Pixar. Maybe that's what it needs. You know, so I'm interested in the movie. The trailer has me successfully interested in the movie. Maybe a little bit concerned in some parts, but I think that's me being reactionary. I think it's going to be fine. I think we're going to be fine. So there you go. That's what I thought of the movie. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. Keep it civil. I know there's been some like cries of heresy and about this, in the directions they're going in this movie. Try to put it aside. Remember, it's just a movie for having fun. Try to have fun and just discuss at your leisure. So, thank you everyone. Thank you everyone for watching me make a 25-minute video out of a 3-minute trailer. And I will see you next time.